documentation goes along with the kind of ultimate handover. And it's an interesting question. It's one that we've not really encountered before, to be honest. No one's really asked me that. But I think what would make sense is probably firstly the handover guide, which we should probably start having a think.
Yeah.
Although I think that a good deal of that will be constituted by this document, this set of modules with kind of light instructions as to what each of them does. I think beyond that, it would be a guide that would be relatively straightforward. It's not like we've got, with Churchill Stripe integrations or things like that. It shouldn't be really, aside from the model, any different to the other guides that we do.
Yeah.
So pages, post types, etc.
Yeah. That would need to write. On the designs on the page that Ross is working on, maybe adding the module name would actually be really useful, as it will be in the CMS.
Yeah, that's a good shout. Could you ask Will to? It's kind of both of them, isn't it?
And Ross to ask Will.
Ross to ask Will what he's actually calling them. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
And then we can use that.
Yeah.
We can use that then quite easily, I think.
It's a really good thing to do, I think, just in general, is to put the two together. Because I was looking at the guide for Aaron yesterday. It's actually not. It's not the sexiest thing, and I think Aaron is sort of the kind of person that would, I don't know, might expect something is a bit warmer, but I don't know. It's I don't know. Rather than receiving a PDF or like a Google Sheet or something, it might be a nicer way of actually presenting a handover in some form, like for the module.
Yeah, it could be actually. It could be. I suppose the difficulty is that what it means if we're going to be sharing it like that, and especially if there's any kind of annotation that goes alongside it, then what will end up happening is that the designer kind of has to do it. Do you know what I mean? Because it's purely by dint of it being on Figma. Although, maybe it would be better if between us we had a little bit more working knowledge of how Figma works and how to use it.
I'm just wondering though, if I see what you're saying. I wonder though if those I don't know if the time spent for Ross putting together a visual is more or less time than the PM would take to write that up, if you see what I mean. And if it does take longer, then it probably isn't worth it. But
I think what you're looking at though is, if you think about what the guide would do, is you'd have
I think there's different parts of the guide, right? But to do the modules and detail what those are and how they look, or I guess that he's not really like describing how to use the module itself, but
this is what I was going to say. Yeah. So what the guide basically does, or what it should do, is have. You can basically imagine side by side a picture of the module on the front end and a picture of the module in the CMS. And basically what you're doing is you're linking, saying this bit on the front end is filled in here, this bit is filled in here. And so you can kind of imagine a world in which you've got a Miro board where might have something that looks like get a screenshot of that. I might have to go and quickly grab the door because I can hear that no one's running to answer the door. It's just not that in on. You'd have the name of this module, WYSIWYG Grow or whatever, and then over here you'd have a what you do is you basically say this is filled in here, this text is filled in here, etc., and you'd effectively be linking them up.
Sorry, is it possible? I mean? Is it possible to use one of the guides, one of the appropriate guides, or the ones you feel is best to illustrate this? Because I'm not sure how. I'm just going by what I did for CRGH and just trying to understand that.
So I think that we. Let's look at whiskey, for example. I was going to say, what you end up doing is doing this, right?
Yeah.
On it. So let's look. It says it does. Even just using the.
Yeah.
For example. What you don't get in this is what that looks like on the front end. Now, I suppose you got it here, the text content module. You kind of got it.
Oh yeah, for some, I'm sure for some I've done that, but
it's not for all.
No, I've not done that properly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I'd done that for Churchill. Sorry, I don't know why I've not done that for whiskey, but yeah, it should be both.
But is there a column where you could put a screenshot of what it is like on the front end? Or is it just a case of in the guide, yeah? Or is it just a case of taking a screenshot and just putting it?
I'm just trying to work out what the different guide would be.
So the Churchill one's probably a good one because that's actually got everything. I don't know why I didn't add that for whiskey, but there were the sort of steps and the image of the module on the page.
Module. So you've got the module there. Hero module. Yeah. Like I think so. When we look at this, for example, there's a question in my head as to whether we need to say put the text in these boxes because like otherwise the boxes wouldn't be there.
Yes. I just was thinking that if you'd never used WordPress before, and if you don't have that understanding of it being sort of second nature, then you might not know which bits go where. But yeah, maybe it could be a lot simpler than it is. And well, actually, I don't know. Some of those I even found a bit fiddly trying to work out how to use. For the first time, when that was the sort of first guide I think I wrote, or second guide. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that was the means of basically sort of getting you to date with.
Yeah, but even as I'd not used WordPress before, and I'd not found it straightforward. I guess is what I'm saying.
But then don't we do a WordPress guide sort of call with them like we did for. I think we did that for CRGH and also for VJT.
Yeah, I'm doing a training session with them next week. It's
good to have something written up though, right? So that you can refer.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely it is.
Maybe we just have two sections, like the guide, and then we have what Ross has done and laid out really nicely here with labels of what the
field is in the CMS.
Yeah, and it just makes it better. So it's just a combination of the two, but it just looks more presentable. Like you're yeah.
I think that's how we do it. So it's like a general WordPress usage guide.
Yeah.
Pages are, says how to update pages, change page, featured images, etc., etc. And then it's kind of modules which are more specific. So it's something like this, but like you say, it tells you how each of these things display.
Yeah. I think and it just looks a lot more presentable. Yeah.
Okay. So that second bit is I think they're keenest to have soonest because it helps Sophie plan everything out. We're not far from it here. I think what we need to do is just discuss make sure all the names are the same as they are in the CMS, basically. All of these frame names.
Yeah. And then there's all the stuff for the writing up in the content tracker which sections can be worked on first, etc., etc. As we went through the day.
Yeah, it's okay. So it's saying which sections have these come from.
Oh, sorry, I meant more like which bits the person adding in the content and creating pages can work on solutions first, and just marking those out as well. Sorry, just in terms of
content tracker.
Yes, yeah.
Fortunately, the content tracker is done by section. Right?
Yeah. So, but then are we releasing it section by section? So, say for instance, the solutions and the scientific.
Releasing the first two.
Yeah, the first two.
First.
Yeah. So
we can sort of say, right, these ones. I wonder whether we basically grab it all.
Yeah, and say these are all for those two sections.
Move it down one, and then put.
Yeah, I think so the solutions stuff is obviously done, and able to use in the CMS, but some of the other things aren't, like some of the modules for insights won't be ready, for example, but will be maybe in 4 weeks' time. I'm just trying to put together when they will be able to work on each section so that.
Yeah, well, we're going by
the Miro. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this one. So we're going by that.
Yeah. So about the CC.
Yeah. So when they're putting together content and some of those modules haven't yet been built, those would need to be marked on that track so that when they come back to that page and the module's built, they know where to go back to. Do you see what I mean? Because
yes, okay. So we need to make one mark on this tracker, or basically give them a space on this tracker to say return to for whatever reason. So if, say for example, they're building out a solution page and they want to add an image carousel, but they can't because the image carousel falls under probably, I think it's under about.
Or about, yeah.
Then how do they mark that they need to come back to it for that?
Yeah. Or, well, we need to just say these are the modules that are available, but I'm sure that's what we said on the meeting where we said we need to.
Yeah, so the way I was imagining that was that this would basically have a reference to it on
okay.
as to which section it's part of.
Okay.
Or simply we could just add in another tab to this that just lists them out and says when they were being released.
Yeah, great. Yeah.
Yeah, we can just do that, right?
Cool.
Sorry, and sorry, and what would the tab would be? What modules? What would the tab be called?
Like modules, and then dates that they're available to use, or that they're,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, for example,
I've just created a tab though.
oh, so you would have to have module name, target release date. The first one is WYSIWYG Grow. Release date 24. It's as simple as that, wouldn't it? Okay. Where it might get complicated is you see there's different versions of this. Where it might get complicated, for example, here, this is a WYSIWYG Grow with background, is that functionality of the module is part of the About section. So, as of the 24th, they might not have the ability to do that. I need to squirrel about that.
Say that again, sorry. I didn't catch that.
So, for example, this module appears in the About section.
Yeah.
These are all the same module, but different layouts of it.
Yeah.
So when you're in the CMS, it'll be a case of adding the module. This, for example, only appears in the designs to the About the CCDC section.
Yeah.
And so the functionality for that won't be available at the beginning on the 24th. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Do they need it by the 24th? For the scientific, because those are the...
You need to at least be aware that they can't do it.
It implies that it's available on the 24th because it's part of that section.
Say again, sorry?
It implies that it's available because it's part of that section for the...
So what I think we should probably do is, even though in the CMS it's called the same thing, there's going to be an option, right, in the CMS, so there'll be a drop down for picking the layout type. So what we should probably do is name in this guide what the layout type is called as well. So this might be WYSIWYG Grow 2-column text. This might be WYSIWYG Grow text and image, for example. WYSIWYG Grow 3-column.
Yeah.
And then that way we can reference what's going on there.
Right, so just a quick question. So all the modules needed for the solutions and scientific sections, would they be ready by the 24th?
Yeah, they will be ready by the 24th.
Yeah. And then when we're moving to the next two sections, which will be in 2 weeks, 2 weeks after the first two, I think it is 2 weeks, isn't it? Well, no, it's just a week. Just a week.
Out in consultancy services.
Yeah. Wouldn't all the modules for that section be ready at the start of that week?
It might be, but to be honest, like About the CCDC is basically done.
Yeah.
This step, right? So it might be that they're all ready.
Yeah, which is one. Yeah.
So the reason we've done this is because they were desperate to start content upload a week early.
Yeah.
Okay.
Normally, I would not like to do this. So we're basically committing to it being done. So support and resources, we're basically saying you can't do that until the 7th.
Yeah.
It won't be ready.
And all the modules needed for support and resources would be ready by the 7th. Possibly even before, because some of them might be within solutions and.
Well, this is the thing. As you go through section by section, you find that things are being reused more. Like you're basically reusing components by that point. There's a few layouts which are specific, but yeah, you're basically reusing the same components at that stage. So I think what we need to do is following
this.
We need to establish naming conventions within module types, layout options. We need to understand which modules layouts relate to which release or section release. I think that's it. Meanwhile, and we need to begin building out the CMS guidance for the modules themselves. Does that make sense?
Sounds good. Could you share that list?
Yeah, I've just made it as a thread in the Slack channel.
Oh, cool. Thank you. Yeah, I've asked Ross label the components.
Yeah, I think, like I say, as Ross and Will, the key thing is making sure that they are labelled the same in the CMS as they are on this document, so that they don't go into the CMS, click add module, and then it's got a different name.
Yeah.
So I think it's Ross and Will. Okay. Yes. Crucible to share their UAT test cases. I think for me, one of the big things that will constitute handover is effectively a documentation of the tests that we've done to establish whether all of the functionality related job stories, so not the content ones, because we can't test if a user can find X piece of information on a page because it's on them to put the content in. But we can test that they can do all of the functionality based stuff. So what handover will consist of is that documentation where we've said, yeah, you can make a form, yeah, you can publish a post, etc., all of the functionality based ones. I think that would basically be something that we can give to Sharon at point of handover. It's documentation that we've basically tested that it does everything we said it would do.
Okay.
Which I'm happy to go through and do. We do need to wait, I would say, until this point, because those job stories are non-section related, a lot of them. Most of them are quite broad, and it would probably make sense to wait until all of the functionality is in. I'm happy to do that at that point. I think that will consist of that piece of documentation that she's after. She just wants a piece of documentation that ties a bow on it and says, yes, we're ready to hand it over.
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose they normally get things like unit tests and...
This is it. We don't, but it's not really appropriate here.
Yeah. Okay, what would that look like? What would the document look like for that, as a sort of write-up of?
It would probably look something like... So what we would do is we'd go on to something like this. We'd filter it.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Filter it down so that we're looking at functionality-based ones. I believe we've got in the
yeah, it has been put together.
Copy for UAT. So we would use this. We'd go through this, and we'd say, is this design content? We'd basically filter it down to all of the functionality content or functionality or design ones.
And then would we put together a sort of report or a sort of checklist that says we've gone through this, this, and this?
Yeah, exactly. We'd probably add a column in that basically is our test results for it. So,
right, okay.
I think that's the way it would work.
Cool, okay.
And then we'd just create a piece of documentation, like a short Word document that says this is what this is and this is what we've done.
Okay.
What I can also do is give an overview of things like the responsive testing that Ross has been doing. So testing on different screens, etc., etc., so that they are aware what we've done in that respect.
Yeah, makes sense.
So those are the main things I think for CCDC at the moment. That's been done. It's done. The ring forth work kind of that's in the offing. SLAs have been done. Redirects we've confirmed on. Otherwise, we're pretty good on CCDC front. Cool. Well, CCDC have eaten into most of our time. In terms of other projects, it's probably not worth us going into Mortgage Brain at this point, Dornu, because we are talking
later. Yeah.
Glux stuff. Is there anything that you wanted to catch up about, either of you?
No, I think I had said that we'd start to put together a content tracker at this point and look at how the content would be brought over to the new site. And there were a couple of questions on the call, I think about 2 or 3 weeks ago, about how imagery would be brought across and how, and whether we could recommend how they name pages and products and things like that and SEO information. And I'd said that I'd give a few examples on how to name imagery and page titles and stuff like that. But it would all come together into the content tracker. So I'm going to start putting that together. Obviously, don't have any content to work with yet because we're not able to export anything from the old website. But at least they can. At least they're aware of that now. I think that's everything, really.
Okay. Sounds good. Hopefully Nick's doing his estimate.
So I think where we've done the estimates before, we've Roberta or Ross have done the sort of handover bits first. I'm sure that that's the order that it goes in, isn't it? So we do the handover stuff and then the estimates. I don't know if Nick is going to be able to provide estimates without seeing the design. Yeah, which is a bit of an oversight, to be fair, because that's normally the way it goes, isn't it?
Yeah, okay. It's because we've been putting off the handover for so long.
Yeah.
Perhaps the best thing to do in that case is to tee Roberta up to effectively be. So I'm sure she's got everything ready. The designs are ready to hand over. Is the best thing to do really just tee Roberta up to effectively just be on hand to answer any questions that Nick has about it.
Cool. Okay. Why don't we then have a three-way call? So Roberta join the estimate call, and Nick.
Yeah. So basically, I think what Nick will want to do is he'll want to look at the designs, put together any questions that he's got, and then have a call about it. I'd ask them when makes sense today to do it.
Yes. Sounds good.
Okay. Otherwise, project CRGH is all coming along.